Welcome back to Roy on Rescue. I have the most disturbing news story that I need to make comment about today. I was just brought to my attention by one of the staff members here at Pro CPR in regards to an article or a news article that came out about a gentleman who came to the aid of another person when they were being assaulted, was stabbed in the body, in the chest, stomach, somewhere in there, and he collapses after a few steps onto the ground on a sidewalk in New York and is ignored until he dies. This really, really hits home for me because one of the biggest pieces of what makes probably my instructional philosophy different is that my emphasis in the very beginning of every course is why most people don't get involved. This stems back from being a paramedic on the street and coming to the scene of accidents and medical emergencies where we had tons of bystanders, sometimes not tons of bystanders, and they were curious, but they were not willing to try to help. There has been 4 really solid reasons that I've uncovered in the last 2 decades of training as to why most people won't get involved. Number 1, they don't want to get sued. Number 2, excuse me. Number 2, they are afraid of getting a disease potentially. Number 3, they're afraid they don't know what to do correctly, and therefore if they don't do it correctly, they're afraid that they're going to do it wrong, and if they do it wrong, they're going to hurt or kill the patient. Loved one, stranger, doesn't matter, and then that wraps all the way back around to fear of lawsuit and blah, blah, blah. Now the 5th, I have 5 fears, but the 5th one is legitimate, and that's the fear of an unsafe scene or harm to the rescuer. And that's legitimate and could stop people from rescuing and should stop people from rescuing, because if you get hurt or killed as a rescuer, you're of no use to the original patient. So you have to make sure there's a scene that is safe prior to getting involved. And in this case, if the assailant would have been there with a knife, I could understand why people wouldn't get involved. They shouldn't get involved because there's still a danger on the scene. They could call 911 from a distance, they could get help a different way and thereby help, but they may not be able to help directly. But in this situation, no one was around that would cause more danger. This person was left on the ground to die. And the video that you'll watch with the embedded video link that I'm going to include shows that people saw this individual and walked right by him. Never stopped. Never checked on him. For the longest time, until finally one individual stops and taps on him and asks if he's okay. Truly an intervening hero. But everyone else ignored him, pretended like they didn't see him, saw him and then walked away quickly. Didn't want to get involved. You cannot get sick from a disease unless the blood-borne pathogen gets into your body, a blood-borne disease. You cannot get a blood-borne disease unless the blood or body fluid that contains that pathogen gets in your body. If you have a CPR shield with a mask with a one-way valve and a pair of gloves, you will be safe. Shield and gloves fit in a key ring kit like that. You can get them everywhere. You can get them on our website in the store. You can get them elsewhere. I don't care where you get them, but if you're afraid of rescuing because you're afraid you're going to get a disease, get the CPR shield with a one-way valve and a pair of gloves. Someone's life is at stake. Don't let that stop you. And if you have the protection, you won't have to worry about disease. So get rid of the disease. Now we're to lawsuit. Lawsuits haven't happened for the longest time thanks to the Good Samaritan law, which is still in effect, reciprocal in all 50 states, and is very, very good, very solid and very sound. People that try to help and they don't try to hurt the person worse rarely, if ever, even go into the lawsuit phase, let alone get sued and lose. Good Samaritan law protects you and gives you immunity from lawsuits because you tried to help. So get rid of lawsuit. Now we're to the I'm not sure what to do, and if I do it wrong, I might hurt or kill the patient. That's legitimate. I understand that. That's why I started this website, Pro CPR and Pro First Aid, because I knew as a trainer in a classroom, I only had one block of time with you for 2 years. That is not enough time. In one sense, it's too much time in one sitting. You're almost asleep within the first half hour, even when I'm doing backflips and trying to entertain. You cannot maintain a good attention span for more than 20 to 30 minutes. Most research studies show. That's the way the human body works. We can only absorb small amounts of information in time. And then we revisit it, and then we take a break, and then we practice it, and then we revisit it. That's why we do what we do here at Pro Trainings. We want to give you self-paced education that's free, that you can access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all year long, so that you can learn at your own pace. Ask us questions via email, chat, phone. We're open to that. That's fine. And then we get ridiculed because we're an online company. The hands-on skills evaluation mean nothing if you don't put it into practice because you're afraid of hurting somebody. What good is doing it on a mannequin if you'll never even use it on a human? It means nothing. The certification is nothing. What matters is that you got involved and that you rescued someone and saved their life. The other part of not knowing what to do is that you're afraid you're going to hurt or kill a person. You cannot make a dead person worse. You can't make them worse. You can only make them better. Does that make sense? You can't make a dead person worse. You can only make them better. And people that are not breathing and don't have a pulse are clinically dead. You cannot make it worse, but you can make it better. So, if you don't have to fear a lawsuit, you don't have to fear disease, you don't have to fear not knowing what to do because you can visit the free training at Pro CPR and Pro First Aid as often as you want to be familiar with it. We email you weekly reminders that cover a little topic every week so that you cover the whole class over time all year long, and then you know what to do. Practice on friends without doing the real compressions. Practice all the other stuff. Practice pulse checks if that's part of your certification. Practice how to do an assessment. Practice how to do the head tilt chin lift. Practice how to do direct bleeding control and a wrap so that you can keep blood inside the body and not let it leak out. Treat them for shock. Learn how to do that. The more you get your hands on, the more that muscle memory becomes part of your reactionary memory, your reflex. You won't even have to think about it. And then lastly, you don't have to worry about hurting or killing people that are already at the gate of being dead. You can make it better, though, in certain cases. This is absolutely unexcusable that this person was left to die in a public area. I'm sure you'll be disturbed when you watch the video. I was. Now, you're watching this, so something tells me you're not the people that need to hear this message. The fact that you're watching Roy on Rescue, the fact that you subscribe to our emails, weekly emails, the fact that you did training with us, the fact that you are ongoing training, the fact that you are dedicated to being a rescuer makes you a hero. Heroes are not supernatural. Heroes have courage to try. And we don't know who that man was. Was he somebody's daddy, somebody's husband, somebody's son, somebody's brother, friend? Probably could have been saved easily just by someone calling 911 and get him into the ER so we could have got him to surgery and fixed that stab wound. Please send this out to anybody that you think will be encouraged to get rid of the 4 to 5 fears that stop people from rescuing before it's too late again. And this news article is not the only time this happens. This happened to be one that was caught on a surveillance video camera. But this is not the only time this happens. It happens all the time, around the world. Go forth and rescue. Be a hero. Until next time, thanks for joining me on Roy and Rescue. Have a great day. Bye-bye.